Hi, so I thought I'd give you a little bit more information about the workshop, the event that I'm holding on November the 11th. The title is Wholeness and the Shadow, Doorway to the True Self. So what is this ominous sounding workshop really going to be about, and is it something that could be useful for you? I'm going to just read you first of all something that I wrote quite a long time ago. When you go through something so profoundly difficult and seemingly insurmountable, it makes no sense at the time, and you just want out. Yet likely this situation has been set up for you so that the only way is through. Your way through will only be done with you once you've gained all of the insights that you need, and when you emerge a butterfly from your chrysalis. There are missing pieces to fill, wounds to heal, tools to learn, ideas to put into practice, things to bring into conscious awareness, and inner selves to unite. You are becoming embodied, you are waking, and learning how to use your body, perhaps for the first time. You feel out of control because of an unearthing, a necessary meeting with the hidden and neglected parts of you. The overwhelming entry of the unconscious in your life can feel like a tidal wave. But if you learn to tread water, you won't go under for good. Sometimes, though, you may get tired. You may get knocked under, and you may even begin to drown on many occasions. Yet if you hold onto your spirit, you won't die. Only something else will. So trust that it does have meaning, and it will bring you a gift. When you can't see the light in the darkness, you are not alone. It just feels this way. It's your journey. But many have gone through, are going through, and will go through it just the same. Why or however it happened doesn't matter. What matters is letting go, yet staying connected to the tiny thread of intelligence which is guiding you. Even when you don't feel it. It will burn you up and rock you to your core. Only true suffering corrodes the ego, and for this, in the long term, you will be grateful, because afterwards you will never be able to be superficial or ignorant again. The steady corrosion from your ego can be painful, yes, but it will lead to the most beautiful way of living. Hold on. Carry on, allow your transformation to glide you along. Even when you feel out of control, there is purpose for you. Wholeness is no easy feat, and once the wave is done with you, again will come another. So the word wholeness, what does it mean? For me, it means integration, and there's an influence behind a lot of my work because I trained with psychotherapy, and Carl Jung has been a really big influence to my life and my healing journey. He talked about something called individuation, which really means that there's a holistic nature to the psyche, to our minds and to our beings, and that actually we are on the path throughout life in seeking this place of wholeness, that actually there's a possibility for us to feel complete in our being and less disconnected from parts of ourselves and less sabotaging and perhaps less at war with ourselves, so that we have a type of inner harmony. Wholeness for me is about integration. It's about moving to a different state of being and achieving something that is quite profound in your way of viewing the world, being with the world. So in this workshop, I'm going to be looking at awakening, transformation, wholeness, and what light and dark really means. Light and dark is the road toward our authenticity. As we go through experiences that are difficult, there is purpose for them. So if you found that in your life you've encountered an opening to something where there was a change in your life, a shift, something difficult you went through, then this has been your doorway through to further integration, to becoming deeper in life and coming from a deeper place, and from meeting the human condition which will ultimately open your heart. So why the shadow? And what is darkness? And how does it serve us? The shadow is simply something that we encounter as we go through change and we go through growth, which really, really accelerates our ability to feel okay about ourselves and to come to self-acceptance. Working with your shadow and learning to love all of those parts that get hidden and put in a little box, often from when we're young, is such a healing experience. It means that we stop projecting outward into the world and onto other people and situations, and that we own something within ourselves. We own those parts. It's because we are not meant to be perfect and we're not meant to be positive all the time. And there's something so wonderful about owning and loving your vulnerable, shitty, unhelpful, dark and downtrodden victim aspects, because when you own them, you see them, and therefore you see when they are blocking you, and you can do something about it. Somebody that also speaks really well about this is Thomas More, another Jungian analyst, and I'm just going to read you something that he said. First of all, he does a really nice diagram. So I like that because it's got our practical self, perhaps our everyday self, and our personality. It's our unfolding self, which is what actually we're all looking at as we go through transformation. It's the part of us that's continually changing. And then there's our eternal self. So you're meeting with your eternal self, and what Carl Jung actually calls the big S is actually normally what happens to you when you go through some kind of shift, which is normally after some form of suffering. That's kind of an entry point to the dark night of the soul. To keep the unfolding self alive, you have to open yourself to change every step of the way. Of course, there are times when it's appropriate to step back, settle down, and maybe not move for a while. But to be a person means to be faced every minute with the decision to live or to die, or accept the invitations for yet more vitality, or to decline them out of fear or lethargy. Dark nights of the soul seem to seek out this unfolding self and create a mood in which the necessary developments can take place. You may not go through the deep initiations when you're busy or carefree. So there is complete and utter use for your challenges. In fact, your challenges are your doorways to getting more in touch with healing, with your authentic self, and that's the kind of thing we're going to be talking about. How to really get in touch with these situations which you're struggling with your pain and your suffering, what that means, and perhaps how it's getting stuck for you, and how you can use these encounters to deepen you and enrich your life further. Thomas More goes on to say that the dark night of soul is a rite of passage, which is something that I would agree with because it's what happened to me. A life passage such as birth of a child, getting married, the loss of a spouse, or illness might be the occasion for a dark night, but dark nights may also serve as rites of passage. Not every transition in life has a ceremony or occasion connected to it. You may be the victim of a powerful mood. For instance, you may feel like a failure and wonder if you're ever going to accomplish anything. Friends may try to talk you out of this slump, telling you how much you've done and how great your potential is. But the mood itself could bring you to a decision, a turning point where you suddenly begin giving your life meaning. The dark night itself is your passage. A person suffering a dark night might say, "Help me, I'm depressed, get me out of it." But how can you get out of a natural process of change? And also, as an aside, that leads me to question depression and the way we feel about it as a society. I experienced depression for a long period of time, and it was there for a reason. So how can you medicate self-transformation? The problem, of course, is that we no longer think in terms of passages and transitions. We have exchanged a spiritual awareness of life's meaningful moments for a psychological view based on medicine. And medicine definitely has its place, so I'm not poo-pooing that. We would like to cure ourselves of the darkness, and that's it, isn't it? We want to be happy all the time, so we've forgotten how to be able to be with the dark stuff, be with the challenging stuff, yet that's the stuff that is going to enrich our life more. it's about becoming friends with that and learning what it's got to teach us, because it's there for a reason. And in fact, often the difficulties and the painful things, if we don't go with those aspects, we can't get to a next level. Medications may be appropriate, but they're always insufficient. Medicine plays an important role in all suffering, emotional and physical. The problem is that medicine itself has become materialistic, and only recently has been searching for ways to include a spiritual dimension. It treats the body as only physical and neglects the full range of connection between meaning, emotion, and our physical state. Until medicine and professional psychology abandon the now outmoded secular philosophy altogether and recover an appreciation for the absolute depth of human life, they will not be useful for our dark nights. Well, in fact, they won't be the cure, is what I would say. So that's a lot about the kind of themes that I'll be looking at in the workshop, but how's it going to benefit you, and what kind of thing are we actually going to be doing? First of all, I'm going to be giving you a little bit of a talk about why I've been inspired to put this workshop together, and of course that's come from my own journey. In 2012 I started to enter my own dark night of the soul after having been quite successful in running spiritual and self-help and self-growth and psychological sessions and workshops. My life was kind of at a peak. I was looking to move to America and things were going well. Definitely entering into training as a therapist was a doorway to open a lot of material for me. And looking back, it was just a rite of passage. What had happened is my ego had taken me to a certain point. My personality had taken me up to a certain point, but it couldn't get me any further, and it certainly couldn't get me to another level of growth. So then entered my own personal S, self with a big S, not knowing at the time, of course, that I was about to embark on a journey where I would use all of those tools that I had accrued in about the 7 years before that. So training in healing, training with sound, reading every spiritual book I could get my hands on, having done my psychological training. That was the collection of the tools to enter this really deep growth stage. I had anxiety and depression very seriously for a couple of years as I was doing a lot of wound healing. That then led to a physical crash. I was diagnosed with ME, fibromyalgia, and later on then POTS. As an example, on a physical level, I was housebound for 2 years and unable to wash my hair, so I had to have help with my husband, and then I was able to go out in a wheelchair for around about a year. I've forgotten a lot about it really. It was very profound and I was very alone, and it took me a while to get in and actually start understanding what was going on and to start like shifting that and changing. Obviously on a practical level, got from retraining my body after being in a wheelchair to then now being able to walk 50,000 steps a week. I exchanged my wheelchair for my kayak. I still have symptoms that I work with. There's still a little bit further for me to go, definitely, but the shift has been massive, and I'm doing things I never thought I could do. Of course, my mind didn't think they could, but all along my soul knew that there was a clear route, and I will continue to be able to be guided by that self. It's all just been a necessary and kind of amazing journey, really. In the last 5 years, I've been really coming into the world again in a different kind of way. It's been a slow new birth. And I certainly have a really powerful belief in overcoming things and understanding the relationship between the mind, the emotions and the body. There's going to be 3 main sections that I'm going to introduce to you, which can be helpful to your life. We're also going to look at the inner critic and the integration of something called the nurturing parent. Equally, we're going to look at the anima and the animus, or the female and the male aspects of yourself and how they're operating in your life. There are also going to be some empowering coaching activities where you'll get a chance to join in with others. And it will also just be really nice to hear from why people were drawn to come to this workshop, what's going on in their lives, and looking at the similarities between us all as human beings. Of course, we're going to end with a deeply relaxing and hopefully really healing group guided meditation or visualization. And I always leave that to the day, meaning that I allow it to come through intuitively based on the themes and the situations and things that people are bringing as we come into this group space together. If you're feeling the vibe of this, then I'd really like to meet you. You can easily email me and sign up with a deposit to book your space of £10, and then it's just £10 to pay on the day. And so I look forward to seeing you on November the 11th, 1:30 till 4:30 in Leigh-on-Sea.